Let's talk Goku vs Luffy, the fight most don't take seriously, all because they haven't seen One Piece. In one of our last videos, we discussed Goku's forms versus Luffy's gear, and how each of the two's transformations have much history and how they've inspired and influenced one another. And my main point behind making that video was just to explain to the average anime viewer that Luffy is not still as weak as he was during the first few parts of his series. Now that we've entered the final saga of One Piece, the world has set up the stage to reveal Luffy's truest enemies, and they extend far above the other pirates, marines, and even entities that originate from this world itself. Ever since Luffy has awakened his devil fruit and defeated the previously unstoppable force known as Kaido, the world of One Piece has set the framework for Luffy to ascend to a realm known only to the gods of the ancient kingdom. Since then, he's fought against Kizaru, the holder of the light fruit, for several decades, and the entirety of the Gorosei, a demonic force of 5 figures that literally control everything that exists in the One Piece world. And with current Luffy's power, he was able to foderize them and make them seem like play toys, all without breaking a sweat. But with all that being said, most people don't feel any of Luffy's feats put him near the realm of Goku, a character who at this point has had battles that threaten to annihilate multiple states of existence, all due to the clash of his punch. Since even before Battle of Gods, we've seen Goku fighting against several universal threats that can annihilate planets like they're literally crumbs. So how could anything Luffy has stand against that? The best way to answer this is to point out the fact that Goku and Luffy have fought each other before. And while a lot of low IQ individuals may point out that this fight is from a non-canon crossover, regardless of the details of the fight, they showcase exactly what would happen if Goku and Luffy were to actually fight one another. As due to Luffy's rubbery body, he is immune to any amount of blunt force damage from any source. This means that every time Goku tries to harm Luffy with regular punches or kicks, Luffy will simply bounce back from Goku's attacks and not be hurt by them. Now, I will be honest and say that Luffy will more than likely have to go gear second right off the bat, just in order to keep up with Goku's base speed now that Goku has ascended to the realm of God. But this isn't too much of a big deal when you remember the fact that Luffy needed to go straight into Gear 4 Snakeman and Gear 5 just to keep up with Kizaru in their recent bout against one another in the manga. As we all know, both Goku and Luffy use their forms and multipliers in order to keep up with their opponents depending on the situation. With that being said, I feel like Goku will eventually get tired of strength testing with Luffy and will go into Super Saiyan as well for his own stat boost. Goku would also begin to find out some of Luffy's weaknesses as the fight went on, such as sharp attacks, and may even start throwing out destructo discs at this point, as we've seen him do against other foes like Jiren or Frieza in the past. However, one advantage Luffy directly has over Goku is observation haki, as it directly gives Luffy the ability to see into the future. This, along with Luffy's massively faster than light speeds and the Gear 2 multiplier, will allow him to easily dodge any incoming ki attacks from Goku as well. And speaking of haki, advanced armament allows Luffy the ability to damage his opponents internally while ignoring their outside durability. This also allows Luffy to damage the target with an energy projectile that reaches the target without Luffy having to make physical contact, meaning these attacks can extend at just as long ranges. Luffy also has advanced Conqueror's haki, or the ability to infuse his physical attacks with his unique spiritual aura and will. This added increase in damage and durability negation will definitely do more than enough damage to Goku and cause him some significant issues during the battle. I believe Luffy's use of these techniques along with the use of Gear 2nd and 3rd will be enough to push Goku from using just his regular Super Saiyan form into that of a Super Saiyan 3, upon which Luffy would respond by transforming into Gear 4. Now, these two forms have the most destructive capacity available to these two without completely annihilating absolutely everything. We saw when Goku turned Super Saiyan 3 for the first time that the power generated from the form was enough to cause tremor shaking across the entire world, whereas Luffy's clash against Doflamingo in his first use of Gear 4th was enough to send shockwaves trembling throughout the entire sea. While Super Saiyan 3 gives Goku enough power to stand against galaxy-shattering forces like Boo, it doesn't give him any direct hacks that counter Luffy's immunity to blunt force damage. Meanwhile, in Gear 4th, Luffy gains the added effect of adding elasticity to his armored body and allows himself the ability to fly and increase the size of his muscles to unimaginable amounts like giant balloons. I believe the clashes between these two in these forms would be so great that the entire planet would really start to begin to feel the effects of their battle. With Luffy's armament coating and massive Gatling attacks, it's fair to say that he might end up overwhelming Goku in this state to the point that Goku has no choice but to pull out Super Saiyan God. As in this state, Goku's God Ki will allow him extra hacks and abilities to withstand the absolute onslaught that his base might not have the assets for, such as enhanced regeneration. I also feel that the application of God Ki into Goku's attacks will begin to start doing some long-lasting damage on Luffy, to the point that Luffy would actually have to start to take the fight more seriously as well, and go into Gear 4 Snakeman. In this form, Luffy's speed increase would genuinely be overwhelming, to the point that he can move faster than even those with future sight are able to keep up with. This, along with the fact that Luffy's fists will increase in velocity and change trajectory while en route towards Goku, will make Luffy incredibly unpredictable during this fight, and will make dodging basically impossible for Goku, unless he pulls out Ultra Instinct. And this is where the fight will really start start getting entertaining, as now both Goku and Luffy will finally stop gauging each other's power and give each other the full respect that they absolutely deserve. Luffy will quickly begin to see just how formidable Goku is as he effortlessly bobs and weaves through each of Snakeman Luffy's undecipherable fists, and effortlessly blows Snakeman Luffy away with his aura alone. Even though the blunt force itself wouldn't do damage to Luffy in this form, the ki blast and overwhelming aura of Goku simply won't be enough for Luffy to keep up with. Goku will let out one major onslaught similar to what he did to Kefla or Jiren and finish Luffy off with a powerful Kamehameha at point blank. Luffy will fly off into a pile of rubble, completely defeated or dead. And that is when the drums of liberation will begin. As Luffy's heartbeat changes and Nika awakens, everything touching Luffy in his current surroundings will turn into rubber. Luffy will enter Gear 5th as his body takes on the form of the sun god Nika. And as MUI Goku attempts to punch him again, this time Goku's fist will rubberize itself upon contact. Luffy will then use his Devil Fruit's passive mythological ability to turn his imagination into reality and imagine himself bypassing the autonomous dodging of Goku's Ultra Instinct. This is something we've seen Luffy use to apply his own laws in physics to reality, such as in the moment where he pulls a metal scouter out of his head while fighting Lucci, manifests a can of paint and brush out of thin air during his 1v5 against the Gorosei, and during his fight with Kaido when, after being hit with the blast breath, Luffy runs in place on the air, automatically heals himself of his burns, and runs on the air back to Onigashima. I know that most of the community calls Gear 5 Luffy's powers an ability akin to Toon Force, but it's actually not just a gag ability that Luffy can only use in the context that he's doing something funny. Road to Laugh Tale 3.5, as well as many other canonical sources from the author of the story, tell us that Luffy's Devil Fruit is actually giving him the ability to manipulate reality based upon what he imagines is possible at the time. So Luffy is not a gag character in the sense of someone like Arale, but rather a god that has the ability to warp existence to what he desires. This is not a hack that Goku will be able to simply shrug off by screaming and increasing his aura's power. This is an incredibly annoying ability that Goku would have to act very out of character in order to deal with, if he's able to deal with it at all. Now, some of you may be wondering, can't Goku just use Hakai? But as all of us who read the Dragon Ball Super manga know, even in the one recorded instance of Goku using God Destruction energy, he was only able to erase half of the body of its intended target, Zamasu. And Zamasu was able to regenerate from this technique, meaning Luffy, who has an enhanced regen factor from being a Zoan, would also be able to heal as long as the Hakai doesn't erase him in one go. And as proven earlier, he can simply imagine the Hakai not having an effect on him, and based upon the description of his Devil Fruit, this erasure wouldn't work. Now, I can already hear all of you NPCs coping with the facts I've stated about Luffy's undeniably broken power set, and I'd like to clarify that everything I've stated has already happened and been confirmed to be one of Luffy's abilities in the source material, meaning no matter how butthurt you get about it, yes, Luffy really is this powerful, and no matter how much you cry or call me a One Piece glazer, none of the facts or feats from Luffy will change. Now, with all that being said, who is the winner? In all honesty, I don't believe either of them have any real win conditions against the other, solely because it seems each of them have direct counters to what the other can do. Goku is mainly all punches, ki blasts, and kicks, all of which to some degree deliver damage through blunt force. Regardless of how you feel about it, no amount of blunt force will do any damage to Luffy. Just take Goku versus Botamo for example, someone who had the same hacks as Luffy to be completely immune to blunt force damage from punches, ki blasts, or kicks, and despite the fact that Goku massively outscales him, he was unable to do any damage to Botamo and had to win the fight by placing Botamo out of bounds. In that same breath, it's hard to argue that Luffy can put out enough damage to do long-lasting harm to Goku either, since even with durability negation, Goku has survived attacks with the potential to destroy the universe several times over. The only real factor Luffy has going against him for this one is his stamina in Gear 5. As we know, it currently depletes him faster than any other form. However, we all know that Goku is the type that if you're giving him a good fight, he's going to want to keep you at your peak in order to give him the most maximum challenge. So if the fight did last long enough for Luffy to deplete his energy, Luffy will either change his heartbeat to regain stamina as he did against Kaido, or Goku would literally give energy or a Senzu bean to Luffy so they could continue. Despite that being said, Luffy's imagination hacks alone gives him the power to match people of Goku's caliber, along with the added fact that in Gear 5, Luffy gets stronger every single time he laughs. So I definitely believe this fight would be much closer than the majority of people think. Ultimately, I think it would be a stalemate if these two saw each other go out at their full power. If you think Goku wins, you can tell me by leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel for daily Dragon Ball videos. And if you think Luffy is the winner, leave a comment and let me know. Thank you for watching. I love and appreciate you all. Sun God signing off.
I come in clutch like a genie. Don't talk unless you need me. You talk too much, you need it. All of my bitches look like models, she in love with me. When we link, it's flashing lights and cameras, got a blammer.